I never thought my marriage would end up in something as messy as an open relationship. It started as a joke, a passing comment my wife made over dinner one night. She said, maybe we just need a little freedom, to explore, but still come home to each other. I laughed. She didn't. We've been married for 8 years, and things have been stale. We loved each other, sure, but passion had turned into routine. So when she brought up the idea of an open marriage, I froze. At first, I refused. But she pushed the idea like it was some kind of modern therapy. It's just dating. No strings. We'll be honest about everything, she said, her voice too calm for what she was suggesting. I told her I didn't want to share her. She smiled sadly and said, then maybe you don't trust me. That night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling, wondering if this was the beginning of the end or a desperate attempt to save us. And against every instinct I had, I agreed. We made rules. No lies. No falling in love. No repeating dates with the same person more than twice. It sounded safe on paper. Control chaos. But nothing about emotions is ever controlled. 2 weeks later, she had her first date. She came home late, wearing a dress I hadn't seen in years. Her perfume lingered in the hallway. She looked alive. I tried to act normal, but my chest tightened with jealousy. How was it? I asked, pretending I didn't care. She smiled softly. It was nice. We just talked. Her eyes told a different story. That night, she fell asleep easily. I didn't. I sat in the living room, staring at her phone, lighting up with notifications. I didn't check. Not yet. Days passed. Then weeks. She became happier, lighter, humming while cooking, dressing up even for grocery runs. And I realized I'd unleashed something I couldn't control. Then she asked me, have you thought about seeing someone yet? I shrugged. Not really. She smiled a little too quickly. You should. It'll balance things. So I did. Her name was Maya, a graphic designer I met at a friend's birthday dinner. She was smart, funny, and a little broken in ways that felt familiar. We met for coffee, then dinner, then long drives that turned into quiet, dangerous nights. For the first time in years, I felt wanted, not as a husband, not as a duty, but as a man. And when my wife found out, everything changed. It started with small things, cold silences, short answers. Her eyes scanned me like she was searching for guilt. One night, she broke. Where were you? She snapped when I walked in past midnight. Out, like you said I could be. With her? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her lips trembled. You weren't supposed to like her. I wanted to laugh, scream, and cry all at once. You started this, I said quietly. You said we should explore. Yeah, but not like this, she yelled. You were supposed to come back to me, not drift away. She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door. I slept on the couch that night, realizing something terrifying. She only wanted the freedom to be wanted, not the risk of losing control. Weeks passed in chaos. She kept trying to pull me back, late-night texts, sudden affection, let's fix this dinners. But I couldn't unsee the truth. The woman who begged for an open marriage couldn't handle the openness when it wasn't in her favor. Then one evening, I came home to find her sitting on the floor, surrounded by printed photos. My photos. Screenshots of texts with Maya. You lied, she whispered, her mascara smeared. I didn't. You said no secrets. You knew. You broke the rules. How? Her voice cracked. You fell in love. I didn't answer, because she was right. That night, we argued until sunrise. She cried. I apologized. Then she cried harder because apologies weren't what she wanted. She wanted me to unlove someone I didn't mean to love. You can't do this, she said. We're supposed to be each other's person. You opened the door, I said, and I walked through it. You just didn't think I'd find someone on the other side. She looked at me like a stranger, and for the first time, I felt it too. We weren't partners anymore. We were players in a game that had gone too far. That morning, she packed a bag and left. No dramatic goodbye, no slam door this time, just silence. I sat at the table, her coffee mug still half full, lipstick smudged on the rim. And I wondered if freedom was ever worth this kind of loneliness. I called Maya that evening. She didn't pick up. Maybe she sensed the storm brewing behind me. Maybe she didn't want to be the reason a marriage finally broke. All I know is I wanted honesty, love, and peace. But all I got was a lesson. You can't open something sacred and expect it to stay whole. I never thought my marriage would end up in something as messy. The silence in our house was deafening. It started as a slammed doors, a passing comment my wife made over dinner one night, just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my own guilt echoing through empty rooms. Explore. I thought I'd come home to each other. I thought I'd finally have peace. She didn't. But instead, we've been married for 8 years, and every night I caught myself glancing at the door, expecting her to walk back. Passion had turned into furious, tearful. So when she brought up the idea of an open marriage, then I froze. One evening, I came home to find her car parked, but she pushed the idea like it was some kind of modern therapy. Inside, it's just she was sitting at the dining table, no strings, calm. We'll be honest about everything, like a stranger waiting to negotiate. Her voice too calm for what she was suggesting. I told her I didn't want to share her. I nodded sadly, bracing myself. Then maybe you don't trust me. I've been thinking. That night, I barely slept. Maybe we can fix I stared at the ceiling, start over, wondering if this was the beginning of the end, no other or a desperate attempt to save us. Her voice trembled, and against but her every eyes searched mine for hope. I agree. I want to say we made rules to erase no everything. Lies, rewind no falling when things were simple, no repeating lies had already grown more than between us. It's not that easy on paper, I said softly. Control chaos. You can't unbreak. But nothing about emotions cracked. Is ever She sighed, looking away. 2 weeks later. You love her, don't you? She had her first date. I didn't answer. She came home tears late, welled in her wearing eyes. A dress I hadn't seen in years. I just wanted us to feel something again. Her perfume lingered in the hallway. I didn't think it would destroy everything. I tried to act normal. Her words hit hard, my chest tightened with jealousy. Because I knew she wasn't wrong. I asked. We were both pretending I didn't care. We just sinned differently. She smiled softly. Over the next few days. It was nice. She stayed in the house. Talked. Saying she needed time to sort things out. That night, we lived like ghosts. She fell asleep, sharing the same roof, but existing in separate worlds. I sat in the living room at night, staring at her crying in the bedroom, lighting up with notifications. During the day, she'd act like nothing happened. Not yet. It was days past. Then one morning, I woke up happier, lighter, humming while cooking, dressing up old for grocery runs, smiling faintly. And I realized breakfast. I'd unleashed something I couldn't control, as if we hadn't torn each other apart weeks ago. Have you thought about seeing someone yet? Then she shrugged. Are you still seeing her? She smiled. I shook my head a little too quickly. Maya had stopped answering my calls. It'll balance things. Maybe she sensed I was too broken to offer her. Her name was Maya. My wife's designer I met at a friend's birthday dinner. She said she was smart, maybe we can fix us, funny, and a little broken in ways I felt familiar. Until I found out she was still seeing the same guy she met first. Then long drives that turned into quiet, was just a friend. Dangerous nights. I confronted her first time in years. You told me you wanted to fix us, not as a husband, not as her phone out. But then as why a man, are you still meeting him? And when my wife found out, hardened, everything because changed. You ruined me. It started with small things. Cold you made me feel short answers. Her you think eyes I could just scan me like she was searching for guilt. You started. One night, she broke. I shouted, "Where were you?" You wanted this open marriage. She snapped when I walked in past. I wanted to feel wanted. Out. She screamed, like you said I could not be replaced. With her voice cracked. I didn't answer. Tears spilling down her cheeks. Her lips trembled. I stood there. You weren't breathing hard, to like her, realizing how I wanted to laugh, scream, and cry no all fixing this. We weren't trying to love each other anymore. I said quietly. We were trying to win. You said we should explore. She left again that night. Yeah, but not like this. But this time she didn't take a suitcase. You were supposed to come back to me. Not a few hours later, I got a message stormed off. You'll see what it feels like to lose control. I slept on the couch. I didn't know what she meant, realizing it was something terrifying. Maya called me. She only wanted the freedom to be voice shaking, not the risk of losing control. Your wife came to my apartment last night. Weeks passed in chaos. I froze. She kept trying to pull me back. She didn't hurt me. Late night texts, but sudden affection. She said things. Let's fix this dinner. Scary things. But I couldn't unsee the truth. She told me to stay away from you. The woman who begged for an open marriage couldn't handle the openness. My blood ran cold when it wasn't in her favor. I drove straight to her place. Then one evening, I came sitting on the couch, sitting on the floor, calm, surrounded by coffee like nothing had happened. My photos. What did you do? Screenshots of text from Maya. She looked up. I'm bothered. She whispered. Just told her the truth. Smeared. That she's a distraction. You said you'll come back to me eventually. You knew. That's not your call to make. She smiled faintly. Her voice not a call. You fell in love. Something in her tone sent chills down my spine. That night, this wasn't the woman we argued until married anymore. She had become obsessed. I apologized, but she cried harder because over the next few weeks weren't what she wanted. Things spiraled. She wanted me to unlove someone I didn't mean to love. You can't do this. On my car, she said. One night, we're supposed. I came home to find candles lit You opened
dinner
the door,
on the table, and
I
music
said,
playing,
and I
our
walked
wedding
through
song.
You just
She
didn't
sat
think I'd
there
find
waiting.
someone on the other
Let's
side.
go back,
she whispered.
She looked at me like
Pretend
a stranger.
none of this ever happened.
And for the first time,
I
I
shook
felt
my
it
head.
too.
We
can't.
weren't partners anymore.
Her face fell.
We were players
Then
in
you
a
don't love
game
me
that had
anymore?
gone too far.
I hesitated.
That morning,
I'll always
she packed
care
a bag
about
and
you.
left.
But love,
No dramatic goodbye.
It doesn't look like this
no
anymore.
slam door this
Her
time.
eyes
Just
darkened.
silence.
Then no
I
one
sat
else
at the
will have
table.
you either.
Her coffee
That's
mug
when I
still
realized
half full.
this
Lipstick
wasn't
smudged
heartbreak
on the rim.
anymore.
And
It was
I
madness.
wondered if freedom was
I
ever
filed
worth
for
this kind of
separation 2
loneliness.
days later.
I called Maya
She didn't
that
show up
evening.
to court.
She didn't
Her
pick
lawyer
up.
told me
Maybe
she'd
she
left
sensed
town.
the storm brewing
Months
behind
passed.
me.
I
Maybe
tried to
she
rebuild
didn't
my
want to be
life.
the reason a
Moved
marriage
apartments,
finally
changed
broke.
jobs.
All I know
started
is
therapy.
I wanted
Sometimes I still
honesty,
see her name
love,
flash
and
across
peace.
my phone,
But
all
a
I
missed
got was
call
a
with no
lesson.
message.
You can't open
Sometimes
something sacred.
I dream
and
about
expect
her,
it to stay whole,
standing in the rain, whispering you'll come back. But I never did. Maya eventually reached out again. We met for coffee, not as lovers, but as people who both survived the storm. She smiled and said, "You look lighter," and maybe, for the first time in years, I was. Now, when people ask me what happened to my marriage, I don't say much. I just say, we try to play with fire, thinking we'd never get burned. Because that's the truth about open marriages. You open the door to freedom, but you also open the door to chaos. And sometimes what walks through isn't love. It's everything you were trying to escape. It's been almost a year since the divorce papers were signed. And yet, not a single day passes without the memories replaying in my head. The laughter, the jealousy, the screaming, the silence. They say time heals everything. But time doesn't heal what you never fully understood. Sometimes I wonder, did we ever truly love each other? Or were we just afraid of being alone? After she left town, I focused on rebuilding. Therapy, gym, work, repeat. Every part of my life was a repair project. Maya and I had stopped talking for good. There was too much damage, too many ghosts between us. But the space she once filled taught me something vital. Peace isn't found in another person. It's found when you stop fighting with yourself. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was unfinished. Until one night, I got a message from an unknown number. "You still think about me?" My heart sank. It was her. I hesitated for a long time before replying. "Why are you reaching out?" Her response came instantly. "I'm in town. I need to talk. Please." Every logical part of me said no. But closure, that dangerous word, whispered louder. We met at the cafe where we'd had our first date 12 years ago. She looked different, thinner, tired, but still had that same fire in her eyes. "You look good," she said softly. I nodded. "You don't." She laughed, not offended. "Fair enough." We sat in silence for a few seconds before she finally said, "I've been in therapy. I'm trying to be better." I didn't know what to say. For months, I'd imagined this moment, yelling, blaming, demanding answers. But now that she was in front of me, all I felt was peace. "You really loved her, didn't you?" she asked quietly. I took a deep breath. "Yes, but I also loved you, just in different ways." She smiled sadly. "That's what I hated most. You loved me gently and her deeply." I shook my head. "No, I loved you first." But we both forgot what that meant. Tears filled her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted to feel alive again. But the second you did too, I couldn't handle it." For the first time, she said what I'd been waiting to hear. Not an excuse, but the truth. Then she reached across the table, her hand trembling. "Can we ever forgive each other?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not the woman who betrayed me, but the one who once shared every dream, every morning, every laugh. "Maybe forgiveness isn't about each other," I said quietly. "Maybe it's about forgiving the versions of ourselves who didn't know better." She smiled through tears. "You always knew how to ruin my anger." We both laughed, the first genuine laugh in years. When we left the cafe, she turned to me and said, "I'm moving to another city. New job, new start." I nodded. "Good. You deserve that." "And you?" she asked. "I'm staying. I need to finish healing where it all began." Weeks passed after that meeting. No calls, no messages, no more ghosts from the past. One day, I visited our old house. It was up for sale, freshly painted, empty inside. I stood there in quiet, remembering how many versions of us had lived inside those walls. The lovers, the strangers, the enemies. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt gratitude. Because that chaos, that storm of love and pain, had taught me who I really was. A few months later, I met someone new. Her name was Elena, calm, steady, the kind of person who didn't need to fix me because she wasn't broken herself. We took things slow. No games, no tests, no open doors. Just two people learning to trust again. One night, I told her everything. The open marriage, the jealousy, the heartbreak. She didn't flinch. She just said, "You learn the hard way what boundaries mean." And she was right. Love without boundaries isn't freedom. It's chaos disguised as choice. A year later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo. It was her, my ex-wife, standing on a beach, smiling, holding hands with someone new. On the back, one line was written, "We both found peace. Thank you for letting me go." I stared at it for a long time. Then I smiled, folded it and tucked it away, not as a wound, but as a reminder. I still think about that time sometimes, how two people can love each other deeply and still destroy everything trying to keep that love alive. If I could go back, I'd tell my younger self, don't test love to prove it's strong. Protect it before it breaks. Because once you open the door to temptation, jealousy, and ego, you might never find your way back inside. And that's the real tragedy of an open marriage. It doesn't break overnight. It slowly unravels, thread by thread, until one day you wake up and realize you're standing alone in the freedom you thought you wanted.